All right, Shane, so we're getting to the golf course here for the first time. You've hit some full swing shots, getting over here to the short game. Is this usually where you start? First time you've seen the course, trying out the grass, vanilla chips, or where do you go?
Generally depends on the golf course, the chipping green, what the facilities are like. So, I mean, we're here and like, we've obviously got some balls here and some, like you've got some straightforward chip shots, and they're kind of, if anything, they're the ones that I'm most sloppiest with.
Oh, really?
You know, so they're the ones I almost need to practice more than like your really difficult ones, because when I get the difficult ones, I find that I see them really well and I see them straight away. Whereas these ones, it's almost like when you have a couple of different options. You know, like this one to this flag, do I chip it, do I put it, do I chip and run it, or
what would you do normally? Tournament conditions, I mean, you guys are playing on great, beautiful courses. Would you putt this normally, or would you?
No, I wouldn't put this one. I'd read, first of all, I'd look at the grass. Down here it's all down grain, so you could easily put it because it's, you know, the ball's not going to snag, but it's easy to chip off down grain, kind of landing into the grain a little bit. If anything, I would see this as like a makeable chip shot.
Let's try this one. Walk us through this.
So I mean, I just kind of look at where, I don't really pick a spot where I'm trying to land it. I stand there and I take like 2 practice swings and I just kind of almost visualize holding the chip shot, and then I just go in and I kind of have a look at the hole, and I kind of just.
So when you hit these shots, and I notice a lot with tour players, supple wrists. Sometimes amateurs, they get in here very, very stiff, very supple for you.
Yeah, I'd be very wristy. Like I've got an early wrist cock, especially when I'm chipping, you know. So that's the way I've done it for my whole life, and it works well. You know, I don't really work on my technique a whole lot. I go around chipping greens, and my coach will be with me, and we'll just we'll hit all the different shots.
Okay.
We'll go around and we'll hit every shot you need to hit, and as long as I'm happy hitting those shots, you know, no matter
what club is that right there?
So this is a 58.
That's a 58.
Yeah.
So 58 to that short, would it be the same club to that one?
Same club to that one. Yeah, I would definitely use the same club to that one. I've got a little bit fringe to land it or to go over. So
let's try that one.
You know, this one I'd see as more like, you know, back in the stance a little bit, and I'd just be kind of trying to almost hit a little draw up there, kind of get releasing up to the hole, sort of.
So interesting, a little bit of a draw.
Yeah, I got that one a bit skinny.
So talk about that, a little bit of a draw technique.
Yeah, I just find that especially a chip shot, it gets the ball releasing towards the hole. So I just I'd obviously aim a little bit right, and I'd square up the club face, and I just feel like I'm trying to hit the ball from the inside and kind of roll it in right to left.
Let's try that one again.
So I go again. There we go.
Beautiful.
Oh,
beautiful. How about that back one? Same club or?
So that back one, like I only chip with 2 clubs. Really, I use my lob wedge the majority of the time, and then the odd time I'll chip and run, but I'll only chip and run with a pitching wedge.
Okay.
I don't do anything else. I find the big thing for me is I find when I'm chipping, if I have too many options, like I used to carry 4 wedges, so I'd have a 56 and a 60, and then the odd time I'd chip with my 56, but then I'd have too many options, and I get like in between shots, so I wouldn't hit out any of them, so I'd end up being a bit sloppy. Whereas, like I practice with my pitching wedge and I practice with my lob wedge. I don't use anything else. So I just find that gives me, you know, a bit of just more clear what I want to do in my head. So this one I just be kind of, I mean, obviously it's a lot uphill. It's into the grain at the end. I'd almost be trying to like just get it running like a putt. So I'd be landing it. I just visualize where I'm landing it, and I'd be playing it like, I'd stand probably a little bit closer to the ball and a little bit further back in my stance, and I just kind of.
There it is, and the pitching wedge, of course, going to run out just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Chase it up that hill, easy putt, straight up the hill for save your par.
So, I mean, I would encourage amateurs to do this a little bit more than, you know, obviously I can play this shot with a lob wedge. And look, sometimes I'll get here and I'll feel comfortable hitting a lob wedge up there, and I'll just go and do it. And I try and play with whatever I see. You know, when I'm under pressure especially, if I see the chip shot, just go ahead and do it. Look, if it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off, but the majority of the time it does, thankfully.
Do you ever walk up to the green? Are you ever going
I
up?
always would, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'd always I mean, I treat, especially these, I treat most chip shots almost like putts. You're kind of trying to read it, you know, because you want to get it perfect. And if you're out by a couple of feet, it can leave you a more difficult putt than, you know, if you're correct with it. So.
Now, I'm really curious over here. Let's step down in here to the rough. You live down here in southern Florida, so you're used to this type of grass here, this Bermuda. But really, when you get into this type of grass and you're a world-class player, you gotta read the lie.
Yeah.
Right. So when you read lies, what are a couple things that you're looking at?
When I first came down here to Florida, I would have struggled a lot with these lies, and because I used to chip a lot, sort of with an open stance, open club face, and I find that if you do that on Bermuda, especially into the grain, that the club just sticks all the time. So I find you really need to get the club moving through the grass. So for me, I think the best way to do that is almost try and draw your chip shots.
Interesting.
So I mean, these lies are not too bad,
Yeah.
but like if you get a bad lie sort of to that flag, say, I'd open the club face a little bit and I'd have it kind of back in my stance, and I'd almost feel like I'm just hitting it from the inside, but really try and keep that club moving and keep the loft on it as well, you know.
Yeah, let's hit that. And the club head, I notice when you do that, kind of swings past the wrist a little bit, right?
So
there's no hang on here.
Yeah, you're releasing it, you know, you're letting the club release from sort of here. You feel like the club's just releasing, you know, and you can really hold the loft on then.
Yeah. And I've always noticed with you, Shane, you have a fair amount of wrist hinge. I mean, you get after the wrist hinge in the backswing.
Yeah, I don't try, it just
Okay.
happens naturally, and that's
just
the way I've always done it, you know, and I think it helps me, especially when I've difficult shots, flop shots, it's kind of, I can really get the club face open, you know, I can really open on the way back. And
What are you feeling there? Is that something like if you were to set up and hinge it back, is there anything particularly in the wrist where you're recruiting from as far as that hinge? Just happens. It just happens.
Genuinely, it just happens. The thing I do is I spend so much time doing it, and I kind of, you know, I do corporate outings or play golf with my sponsors or amateurs and pro-ams, and they ask me about it, and I'm like, look guys, I spend every day doing this for the last, you know, since I was 10 or 12 years of age, you know, for the last 20 years, like, and I think obviously you need to get a good technique and you need to get something that works for you, but I think the best thing to improve your short game is to spend time at it.
Yeah. Let's do another one here. Same shot there, and then we'll go to that back one.
So like I'm always just trying to feel the shot, you know. I'm never really thinking about my technique. I'm obviously thinking about, like, I need to hit a little draw here, but I'm just trying to feel like where I want to land it, and I just kind of try and keep the club moving.
Let's go to that back one now. Anything change? Stock lie here in the Bermuda. You square the face up at all, or is it the same shot?
Like you'd have to square it up here, and like I'm kind of talking about it maybe a little bit too much, but I would be talking about like hitting like a low draw back that flag. Just get it releasing at the hole. I think the best way to hold chip shots is get the ball going at the hole. I think when you have it with like side spin or left to right spinning away from the hole, it's probably not the best way. So as well as that, like I talk about, you do need to keep the club moving. I find if I was to aim left and sort of try and cut that a little bit, the club kind of digs in the ground and it doesn't, you know, the strike becomes inconsistent.
So if you're trying to fade it per se, like it gets a little stickier, and you can't control this, you can't control the roll as
You
much.
just can't control the distance that it goes, you know. And I just find that you can control the strike on this a lot better if you just kind of aim right, kind of get it back in the stance, almost like you're nearly hooding the face, and just kind of.
Now, if we were to, let me get one down in there now a little bit, like if it was to start to kind of get in there where now the grass is really all around it. It's sitting down lower. What changes there in reading that?
So for me, I would have to, even though like it's like a long chip and run, I'd almost have to try and fly this a lot of the way to the hole.
Okay.
So I'd have to open the club face a lot, and I'd still be trying to like play it with a square kind of shot, almost like a draw, but I'd open up the club face and I'd almost put it just a little bit back in my stance, and then I just kind of feel like I'm really releasing the club into the ball and getting the club moving. And
so this has more speed.
More speed.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to play this with more speed, because if you play this with like not enough speed, you're just going to land it there in front of you.
Okay.
So I kind of.
Talk about that wedge. How do you got that? How's that set up for you as far as the loft bounce configuration?
Yeah, so this is a 58 and a 6 degrees bounce. It's just, you know, standard like 6 degree 58 Cleveland wedge, and I get the guys, because I find the heads on these are a little bit rounded, so I get them to shave like the leading edge a little bit, and make it square. I just like the look of the club face when it's like that. It's funny, you just sort of about a year ago I started to like the look of a square face, and I feel like I can do a lot more with it. So that's the setup I have.
What's the most difficult lie that when you're out there? I mean, what's happening with the ball grass combination?
So if you get one that really is like, really down in the Bermuda, sort of to this near flag.
Okay.
It's probably one of the more difficult shots, because it's just so. I find that the guys that grow up in the Bermuda are way better than me at chipping in Bermuda, because they're just used to it. And I suppose it's like me when I go back to play links golf. I'm probably better at it than other guys. But I find it just comes out so inconsistently. But like I said, it's just all about reading the lie and trying to pick the best shot to sort of get it up and down. I mean, yes, you're looking at holing a lot of chip shots, but a lot of the time you're trying to just get it up and down as well. So
same apply here. More speed.
More speed, but I'd aim like I get the ball a bit further up in my stance.
Okay.
And I'd almost just aim like a little bit, further left, because this just needs to pop out. Like it's kind of, I almost feel like when I take the club back, I've got a long, lazy backswing. I almost feel like I just let the club fall on the ball. Like it's the weight of the club as opposed to, because the thing is, if you set up to hit the flop shot here, if you try and hit it and get drivey with your hands at all, it's just going to go 20 feet past. So I kind of.
And you can really see that you're just so supple with your arms and hands.
It's a nice rhythm. Like it's kind of whereas if I get a bit, sometimes you're in a high pressure situation in a tournament. Yeah. And like you might get a bit nervous, or and you'd grip the club a little bit tighter, and you'd be trying to hit the shot, and then you end up like, and it just comes out that little bit faster.
So that ball starts to nestle down, more Bermuda around it. You're actually getting more aggressive, more speed.
You have to,
And the ball was forward, is that right?
Yeah, the ball was forward for that one, because you just, like if you get the ball back there, it's just going to come out a little bit too hot, All
right, I got to take you over here now. Let's come over here. It's always fun to watch you guys hit golf balls, but I really enjoy watching you around the green. Because this is where, I mean, your guys' skill is just through the roof.
Well, it's the one thing I find with the PGA Tour. Most guys have great short games. Most guys are good putters. You don't get away with being average out here. Like it's kind of.
Anybody you enjoy watching, like from around the greens?
I mean, I've been lucky enough that I can learn from Porrick a lot. Like it's kind of, he's, to me, like he's still one of the best chippers in the world. Like he's unbelievable. I get pure enjoyment out of watching Phil do his thing. Like, and it's funny the way he goes about it. I think he goes about it a little bit different than other people, but that's what I like. I'm my own individual, and that's what I like. I think that's what you need to be as a player.
Yeah, you get your own DNA, right?
Yeah,
your own DNA and your swing, and then just kind of how you go about it.
And that's the great thing about golf is like everybody's different, and there's no one way to do things. That's the best thing about the game, I think. And if you find a way to do it and do it well yourself, you can be successful.
Now we've got a little more distance here. We're back here, 20, 25 yards. Take me to that back left flag. Got some green to work with here. Yeah. What are we gonna do here?
So I would have walked up, obviously, to have a look at this. It's kind of, it's down right to left. The grain is kind of right to left. So I'd be just trying to pick a spot where I'm trying to land it, and I'd read it like a putt when I'm going up there. So I'm trying to land it on that left-hand palm tree and just kind of release it down to the hole. Sort of land it a little bit on the green. To be honest, if anything, this should be a straightforward enough shot, because it's one of those where if I hit it a little bit too hard, it lands further and a bit softer, whereas if I hit it a little bit too easy, it gets the downslope and goes down to the holes.
Okay.
I'm after building myself up now.
So you still trying to draw this, or is it?
No, I'm because it's a lot right to left, I'm almost trying to hold it into the slope.
Got it.
So like if I'm trying to explain what I'm doing, it's sort of middle of my stance. I have the club face open, and I'm just kind of trying to just hit like a little pitch shot. See, I probably pitched that a little bit shorter than I would have liked, but it still worked out very well.
How often you hitting these shots? Say tournament week, how often are you going to practice this particular shot going into Thursday's round?
You know, tournament, it depends. Tournament week, I always like to think, especially, you know, I've made the effort of moving down here to Florida, my family, and, you know, my wife's been great at you know, she's supporting me 100%, and I get to do all my practice now on weeks off. Whereas when you live in Ireland, you don't get to practice these shots because you just don't have the conditions or the facilities. Like, we've got great facilities, but you only get to use them during the summer, and, you know, I get to do all this on my weeks off. So I might not practice it a whole lot tournament week, but I know I'm ready to play them when it comes to the tournament.
All right, we're going to go 3 consecutive shots here, okay? Same flag, and you go as low as you can and still play the shot, and then a little higher, second one, and then a little higher in the third.
Okay, cool. So I'm just trying to hit a low one.
Yep. This might be the more difficult one.
Yeah,
here.
it is. So this is, I'll just play it back in my stance, but I'll have the club face a little bit open, and I just popped a little bit.
Yeah, that's perfect. Is it kind of fun to fit it in there? I mean, that's not the shot you would play, but is it kind of fun to just try to...
Yeah, hit different shots. Like that's, myself and my coach would, you know, he'll come down here and we do some practice, and he'll have a bucket of balls and he'll walk around the green and go, here, hit that shot, hit that shot. And it's all different shots, and I find that's the way to practice. The best, you see the best chippers in the world, that's the way they practice. Whereas you see the bad chippers, they practice, they go over to like one area, put a bucket of balls down and hit the same shot you know. So I think variety is a big thing when it comes to practicing.
Let's elevate it now a little bit. Medium trajectory.
So medium. So this will be sort of middle to like up in my stance.
Okay.
And obviously pitch it a little bit further.
Beautiful. That probably fits the eye a little bit more.
That's probably the perfect shot for this.
Really well done.
And
now we're going to go top shelf. Probably not the play, but if we were to have some fun, hit this shot nice and high.
Yeah. So obviously I'd put it forward in my stance a little bit, and I'd open the club face a lot. But I actually, about a year ago, I wasn't chipping great, or especially the soft shots. And I found I was gripping the club and then I was opening the face, and then I'd find that my grip would be too strong, and I'd drive it a lot. So like to be coming out a little bit too hot. So I just got into a routine of opening the club face with my right hand and then putting my left hand on the grip, so the club face is like way open, and then from there it's just kind of
way upstairs. Look at that.
That's pretty good.
Great shot. Now I notice as we've been working through these shots, not a lot of shaft lean. You know, you're not leaning the shaft that forward at all.
No.
Even on the low ends.
Yeah, like I suppose you're trying to use the bounce of the club, like, and it's difficult because sometimes when you feel like you're using the bounce, you end up throwing the club a little bit too much. So it's kind of, there's no harm in chipping with shaft lean sometimes, depending on the lies and the circumstances. But yeah, more often than not, you're trying to deliver the club like with the shaft sort of kind of almost like fairly square into the ball, you know, so that gets the bounce working perfectly.
When you get to Ireland, you get to Europe, do you have to lean the shaft more forward because of the grass over there, or is it about the same? Do you find yourself making any adjustments that way?
Yeah, like you're probably chipping with a little bit less loft all the time. So like even though I use the same club, I'd be trying to use less loft on it. So I would be like you kind of would be maybe trying to like hit like lower shots, and you know that always kind of varies. So yeah, you probably would be a little bit.
So you had to learn kind of the ball in the air game over here in the States a little bit more versus growing up in Ireland. Is that?
Yeah. So it's funny though, if you talk to my coach, and I've known him since I was 17, and you know, he used to drive himself mad. He was when I was playing amateur golf for Ireland, he was our coach, and be trying to get me to play pitch and runs, and I'd be just walking around with my lob wedge, like that's all I want to use, like, and I would be trying to spin it, and that's the way I chipped. And you know, eventually he realized, and I realized that's the best way for me to do it, because I practice it a lot. So you know, and I feel like I'm good at it and I'm confident doing it. So, and
you have great rhythm, and you're so fluid in these shots. I mean, the timing of it is incredible. Let's get one more here. Let's just go that short one here. Would you go way up top like that last shot here to that front right pin?
The one on the right, or just the short?
The short one here, just past the bunker.
Yeah, you'd have to go way up top
Okay.
here. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a good lie here because this is a hard shot.
Yep.
But this would be a shot that, like, you know, you're playing on tour. You need to realise, no, not to be doing anything silly. I would always say to my caddy here, you know, we'd be here and you'd have a very difficult chip shot. And I'd say to him, right, let's not, you know, nothing silly here, 10 feet. And
10 feet?
Try and hold the putt. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Whereas, you know, if you end up trying to be a bit too aggressive with this, leave it in the bunker, leave it short, and then you end up making double. I always find you can come back from bogeys on tour, whereas doubles are just so hard to...
doubles hurt.
Doubles hurt an awful lot. Like, 'cause,
2 chips, those, you know, where you have to leave in the bunker, that kind of stuff.
So I'd be looking at this and I'd be trying to stay very aggressive to it, but I'd also be fairly confident I could hit it close.
Okay.
So I'll actually, for this one, it's a bit different than the other flop shot I hit. I'll widen my stance a little bit.
Okay.
And I get down a little bit lower, almost like a bunker shot nearly. I'd open the club face. There, and then I just swing hard, to be honest. It's kind of...
And just a lot of practice is what allows you to hit that type of shot.
That was pretty good, yeah.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with the bunker here, yeah. You were saying that was kind of a bunker technique,
Yeah.
that one. So you would take that technique and do more of a stock bunker shot, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's throw one down right there and let's go to that back right one first. A little bit of green to work with.
Okay, yeah.
Similar stuff?
Yeah, so I wouldn't play with two, I'd open the club face a little bit. I'd get kind of ball sort of middle of my stance, and I always try and keep my weight on my left side in the bunkers because, you know, I find if you get back in your right side, you end up like, you know, just catching them a little bit heavy or thin, and it's just a bit inconsistent. So I find if I get my weight on my left side,
Same rhythm and fluidity as we've been seeing on the other shots. I notice, are you square or a little closed?
Yeah, I'd probably be a little bit closed there.
Okay.
Square to closed. You know, I think the best way to play them is probably that. Like, I find if I get too open, I end up I drop the club a little bit on the inside, and that gets me too shallow. So if I go too close, like sort of I feel like I can come over the top and really deliver the club well, you know.
Okay.
So I go too close here, and I can kind of, you can still hit that shot.
Yeah. About this one here, tough shot, front left here.
Yeah.
Just have to kind of nudge it over and let it feed down the hill. Even a slight down here lie you've got here as well.
Yeah, this is not that easy now.
Okay.
This is like, but I'd always, first of all, I'd always give myself a good lie in the bunker when I'm practicing. But I just trying to, for this one, I'm trying to get as low as I can. Obviously, weight's on my left side as well. And I'm just trying to get as low, like squatting down really low. And just kind of open the club face a lot.
There it is.
Landed a bit too far, but...
You make that putt though.
Yeah, you're just, like, you leave it below the hole.
So a lot of your short game really, I mean, setups are changing, but your technique, I mean, as far as what you do in your full swing, I mean, it's all the same stuff over your swing.
Yeah, look, I'm a full believer and a firm believer, and even with my long game, that if I get my setup correct, I'm going to hit good shots. Okay. And that's the big thing. And I think the biggest thing I see with amateur golfers is, you know, their setup is not good. Yeah. So it's hard to hit a good shot. And
it kind of makes sense too. Like, you're in your full swing, it's a fluid, it's a rhythmic type of swing. It's not a short, compact motion, but it's a fluid swing, and a lot of that you can see it over here. Just transfers, and just, I think, as you see it a little bit higher maybe than most versus than down. That make sense as far as
true. Yeah, I do see it like that, but like, and it's set up as in like really simple things: alignment, ball position, posture, grip. It's kind of it's very simple. It actually, you know what, it sounds too simple, but that's the way I play the game, and that's the way I've always done it.
All right, I gotta give you one more. I'm gonna make this one really tough.
Plug.
Right, we gotta go there. Let's go back left. What are you gonna do with this one?
So for this one, obviously, you get a few plug lies, but you're really, I mean, when we're playing on tour, you're really trying to not compound the error, so you're trying to be a bit clever with what you do. But for a plug lie, I kind of square up the club face, and I'd play like I get into my setup like a normal bunker shot, but just square up the club face, and I feel like I'm chopping down on the back of it with the heel. So I'm trying to get the heel right in there. And then I feel like if I get the heel in there, the club kind of will open a little bit, hopefully. and the ball will come out somewhat soft. So I'm just kind of trying to feel.
Here it is. Beautiful.
That was all right. You'd be pretty happy with that one.
You got all the shots.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the reason why you won the Open Championship.
Yeah, well.
Hey,
yeah.
Congratulations, all your success. Thanks for your time today. That was
Thanks,
fun.
Travis. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.